Chaque semaine, l'Extra Interview accueille une personnalité pour parler cinéma et séries, et aujourd'hui c'est une femme triplement oscarisée qui nous ouvre son cœur. Sandy Powell, costumière de Martin Scorsese sur ses 6 derniers films, nous raconte comment Mort à Venise de Luchino Visconti a changé sa vie et à quel point les films qu'elle habille racontent immanquablement un peu d'elle. I've tried to find some information about your life and the movies you loved. And the one that comes back the most often is Death in Venice. I found 2 sentences in this movie which is very much a research about what it means to be an artist that I wanted to ask you what you thought about.
That's interesting.
The first one is, art is the highest source of education. What do you think?
That's a very interesting question. I must admit I haven't seen the film for many years. I mean, for me, it was an integral part of my education, this particular film, because I saw this film when I was 14 or 15, and it was the first time really I noticed costumes in film or on screen, and I was mesmerised by that. It was a magical experience, and it was a really, truly inspirational one. I decided this is what I wanted to do, this is what I wanted to be involved with. So absolutely, that quote is perfect, really.
Fits you.
Yeah.
Thomas Mann, the writer. Luchino Visconti, the filmmaker. 2 artists combined to tell the story of an artist.
And the second one is, and it made me think of you, it's perfection is the obstruction of senses.
Perfection! The obstruction of the senses. It's all gone. Nothing remains. Nothing.
And very often you say, I'd rather be artistic and help my costume live than be perfectly period accurate.
Absolutely right. I would rather strive for perfection in another way, perfection in getting the character right and getting the costume correct, as opposed to being, as you say, completely historically accurate. Although when I'm doing a period film, I do always base everything in the correct period and then maybe branch out a little bit, depending on the style of the film.
You've had many very powerful encounters with people that have shaped, in a way, your career. I've been steps
definitely
to your career.
I mean, Lindsay Kemp was probably the first one. He was the first person I worked with outside college. I left college. I didn't even finish my course. I didn't graduate. I left and went straight to work with him. And then after that, Derek Jarman was very pivotal in my career. He was the first person that showed me film and taught me the very basic, beginnings of working in film.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Feel like a little adventure, Miss Hepburn. Do y'all rest, Mr. Hughes.
I have heard some disquieting rumors about Mr. Hughes. I'd like to know everything there is to know.
See, I want to learn what pleases you.
And how would you describe your relationship with Martin Scorsese?
Martin Scorsese was the big step up, if you like. I mean, Martin Scorsese is the kind of director that everybody aspires to working with, or even being in the same,
room.
Airspace as, you know what I mean? That would be enough for most people, but to actually get to work with, somebody whose work you've been looking at for years and admiring, and it was wonderful.
How would you describe the way you work with him?
It's a way of working with somebody who's extremely creative and visual, and surprisingly not all directors are. Some directors who are fantastic with actors, and that's what they concentrate, and leave the visuals to somebody else, even though they're working in a visual medium. But you get a few directors who are really, really interested in visuals and really understand visuals, and also really understand clothing. Now, they're the people that I really instantly get on with.
Is there maybe one movie in which you feel you've managed to express who you are personally the most?
No, I can't. No, there's little bits of me in all of them. I always come back to Gangs of New York because it was my first film with Martin Scorsese, and probably the hardest. It was huge, it was enormous, and it kept growing and it kept growing and it kept growing, and I was working with a director I'd never worked with before. We were working in a country. We worked in Italy, which was fantastic, but still, it made things more complicated. When I step back from that and look at it, I actually see a lot of myself in that. I mean, I just threw myself at that. And there is something that's sort of, I hold that one close to my heart. And another film that I love is Velvet Goldmine. For me, was about my growing up. It was about me as a kid in the 70s, or as a teenager in the 70s, at that same point where I was watching Death in Venice, I also wanted to be meeting David Bowie. You know, so I was also making my own clothes and wished I could meet David Bowie at the same time as watching Death in Venice. So for me, it was a real sort of integral part of growing up, and it was all these different influences and inspirations and dreams and desires. So I put a lot of how I felt at the time into that film. It might not have been historically accurate, but it was what I remembered feeling like. And so that, for me, that's quite a personal one.
Watching it nowadays, does it feel like a memory lane? Like
yes, it does.
It does?
I love it. Yeah, sometimes it's one of those films that if you catch it on TV, if I see it, I then have to sit down and watch the rest of it.
Oh yeah.
Because it reminds me of that time.
So would you say that at the end of your career we could maybe read the story of your life through your costumes?
Maybe you can. You know, quite often I do design things that I like personally. I just like them, so that's why I choose them. I mean, for instance, for instance, this dress here I copied in another colour for the Academy Awards. The year that I won for The Aviator, I was wearing a replica of this dress in green.
I saw your 3 Oscars, like we say, reception. You seemed like, yeah, okay, I've done all of this, but, you know.
And the Oscar goes to Sandy Powell for Shakespeare in Love.
It's a bit embarrassing, you know. Well, I'm not an actor, so I don't, you know, I mean, I'm not used to getting up on a stage and talking to millions of people. You're aware of that, don't forget.
3 times.
It doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it sort of, you know, you can get up and... I mean, I'm grateful and thrilled, but I don't know. It's a very strange experience. It's a sort of very, you know, you have a very out-of-body experience at the time. Of course it's thrilling and exciting, but it's terrifying too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. 18 ans après Velvet Goldmine, Sandy Powell a retrouvé Todd Haynes pour le film Carol qui sort en janvier prochain en France.
Really, this mostly is my brilliant, fantastic team that worked with me on everything. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.